Hello, welcome to this week's chapter concept. This week we'll be discussing writing your resume. I'm David Williamson. This is for CO 102, Dr. Daniel Smith. And as far as writing your resume is concerned, first thing we need to discuss is keeping your resume honest. Apparently 40% of the resumes tested uncover an untruth. That's according to our textbook. 40% of the resumes that are presented to companies contain some type of untruthful information. And that's quite a few resumes. And on top of that, however, 90% of the companies that find an untruth in a resume refuse to hire the person who presented it. So it's very important that when you do present a resume that all of the information that's contained therein is factual. You'll often hear of people talking about padding their resume. That's not something you really want to do. You don't want to pad it. You don't want to put anything in there that's not truthful. As far as making yourself look as good as you possibly can, that is what you're trying to do. However, you want to make sure that you're doing the truth when doing so. Explain your criteria and your qualifications as well as you possibly can, but don't put any untruthful information in the resume itself. And you should adapt your resume to your audience. Please use key terms for your industry or position. For instance, I'm an IT guy, so if you were to look at my resume, you would see things about virtual machines. You would see things about various programming languages such as SQL or VBA. And I use that jargon within my resume. That is not necessarily the appropriate language for every resume. If you work in the service industry, you might want to talk about working the front of the house versus the back of the house, that sort of thing. Make sure that you use the language that is appropriate to your industry. And please do translate your skills if you are changing your target employers. The text talks about someone going from the military to the private sector. Military skills do transfer. However, private sector employers are often put off by military jargon. They don't know what a 91 Bravo is. However, they do understand that if you are medically trained, that you can help someone. So definitely make sure that you use language that your employers understand and that you translate your skills as you're changing those target employers. When when you're composing your resume, the text suggests that you use action verbs and nouns so that you can use very simple and straightforward language when speaking to the hiring personnel for whatever company you're applying with. Use terms like accomplished and coordinated, raised, maintained. Make sure that you highlight any things that you have done to strengthen your current company or how you performed at your last employer. Those are the types of things that the hiring managers are going to be interested in, and those are the types of terms that you'll want to use in order to express your skills in a way that makes you more hireable. Some of the criteria of a successful resume are the name and contact information, and it is very important that you get all of this information correct. Your name and contact information, most importantly. You'd be surprised how many resumes people receive that have an incorrect spelling of a name, or a telephone number is incorrect, or an email address is not correct, and they can't contact the person that they otherwise would have interviewed simply because the name and contact information contains some type of typographical error. You'll need to have an introductory statement. Your introductory statement should include your objective. I am looking for a position that will allow me to use these skills, will allow with a growth-oriented company, with some room for advancement, that sort of thing. You want to make sure that you do list a career objective, and you'll also want to list some type of career or summary or qualification summary. And inside that introductory statement may often be the only portion of the resume someone will read before moving your resume on to a different manager. So you'll want to make sure that you grab their attention very quickly and show why you are qualified for the position that you're applying for. You'll want to list your educational background, any work experience that you have, any skills or accomplishments. Definitely want to list these items. And if you don't have these items readily available, it's something that you should produce over your work life. It's okay to keep a brag book of things that you've done over the course of your career. So if you actually save the company some money, write that down. Keep it in Outlook or keep it in a small folder on your computer. It says, yeah, I saved the company money on this day, or I pushed forward this new initiative on this day, or I sent this memo on to these people. So you want to make sure that you keep that work experience close by so that you can reference it in a resume should you need to. Same holds true for activities and achievements. Any awards that you receive, any activities that you do outside of the workplace that are memorable and also somewhat benign. For instance, you want any activities that you list to show you in the best possible light to an employer. So an activity like possibly going to prison, not necessarily a great thing, but an activity such as helping your community to achieve a certain goal would be. So you want to make sure that you highlight those activities as possible. You should also make a record of any personal data and references that are applicable. References are something that you will typically want to keep close to your resume, but not necessarily submit with your resume. References are those things that are submitted when asked for. That's usually later in the interview process. That's basically the information you need to include in your resume. I'd like to thank you for your time today. Have a good one. I'm David Williamson. Bye-bye.